Well, the U.S. perspective right now is kind of in flux, if you will. The issue is that there's no question that having the U.S. maintain a presence in Iraq, in that part of the Middle East, is critical to national security and our interests of the security of our allies in the region. Uh, Arbitrarily forcing the U.S. to withdraw doesn't help the Iraqi government either, because that leaves them open for infiltration from outside bad actors such as ISIS, such as other militant organizations that could pose a threat, as they did in the attack on the Jordanian camps last year. So I think that the Iraqis need to be very, very hesitant if they're looking to coalesce, because there's a new regime in Tehran and that there's a kinder, friendlier, progressive base in Tehran. Is a bad move politically. It's a bad move strategically, and it doesn't help either the Iraqi position or the position of the U.S. and its allies. The militias, if the militias are going to try and attempt attacks on U.S. military or allied military positions or personnel, it is a bad mistake and a grave, grave judgment error. Make no mistake about it, is as much as the United States is trying to use diplomacy and engage the regional players in legitimate dialogue that brings a sense of stability to the region, that is the preferred path of the United States. But if outside actors, we have to understand the fact that these militias are not necessarily operating within the confines or under the authority of the Iraqi government. If they are acting independently, if they are still acting under Iranian proxy, they will be dealt with and dealt with accordingly. That has been the historical position of the U.S. We will not allow the U.S. personnel or U.S. positions or the positions of our allies, and that includes the Jordanians and even the Iraqi government, to be placed in a difficult position because of rogue military militias in the region. Well, the Iraqis have a vested interest in a strong NATO. I mean, the Iraqi government and having a strong allied presence in the region helps our regional partners, i.e. the Jordanians, i.e. the Qataris, the Egyptians. It helps out the Iraqi government by bringing stability and preventing outside influences to come in and disrupt any sort of progress that the Iraqi government is trying to make in securing the area. I also want to point out one thing, is that the U.S. has a strategic position, and we have a vested interest in protecting our interests, and we should be promoting the strategic interests of our allies there in Erbil and the Kurdish region. The Peshmerga are a strong ally of U.S. forces and our U.S. interests in the region. By removing our presence in Iraq, all that does is place, our other allies, both Jordan and our Kurdish allies, in jeopardy. It prevents them from enforcing the stability and security of their region. So I think that there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that are in play right now that both the U.S. government has to be very cognizant of, and that I think any transition from either a continuation of the Biden administration, which may or may not be possible, or a second Trump administration, whoever it is going to have to realize that there has to be a continuity of operations and a continuity of policy when it comes to the parts of the Middle East, particularly where everybody's hyper-focused on Israel and Gaza. Everybody forgets the sensitive nature and the strategic importance of parts of the region, which include northern Iraq and our allies in Jordan and Kurdistan? Unknown. The problem with the problem with a new Trump administration is we're not really sure what his foreign policy or national security leadership is going to look like. If you look back in the first Trump administration from 2016 to 2020, it was very hawkish on military, and President Trump seemed to be an advocate for a secure Kurdish region. Whether that continues, I don't know. I don't know who's whispering in our ear. It's almost impossible to kind of look into a crystal ball and try and guess what's going through Donald Trump's mind when it comes to foreign policy. Our hope, and my particular hope, is that Donald Trump in his previous administration made comments that were positive in improving our relationship with our Kurdish allies in the region. My hope would be that mindset continues if he is reelected. But again, there's so much uncertainty when it comes to Donald Trump and his foreign policy. Nobody's really sure how he's going to land. Well, the benefit with the benefit with a solid relationship with Baghdad is very simple. As long as we can maintain a solid base of relationship and cooperative partnerships with Iraq, and we are able to maintain a presence in the region without conflict with the central government, that makes the area more stable by being able to support our regional partners, including the Iraqi military and the Iraqi government, in protecting its own borders and protecting its own citizens. The U.S. just doesn't sit there and camp out. We are actively cooperating and collaborating with our partners, whether it is our Kurdish partners in the Peshmerga, whether it is the Iraqi Defense Forces and protecting their own security interests. We don't exist in the region in a vacuum. So having a good relationship with the Iraqi central government is a benefit to the entire region, but especially to our allies' strategic interests there. That's a very broad question. I mean, if the broader question is why does Iraq want to have a relationship with the United States? Well, because I think that the Iraqi central government and the Iraqi leadership believes that it makes sense from a security and an economic standpoint. Being able to have a solid base of relationship with Washington also allows the opportunity for trade, for economic development, economic collaboration, strategic collaboration, public-private partnerships in the region. There's a lot of reasons why it makes sense for Iraq to have a good relationship with Washington. Now, we also have to look at the converse side. It makes sense for Washington. I still personally, and I obviously don't speak for the United States government, but there are many like me here in the United States that still believe that Kurdish independence needs to be addressed by the U.S. By having a relationship with Baghdad and having Baghdad have a relationship with Washington, that could actually make that process of sovereign recognition of a sovereign Kurdistan feasible in many instances. You look at when we have to work with the partners in Iraq to help defend against Islamic extremism, such as ISIS, such as Al Qaeda. Those interests benefit Iraq as much as it benefits U.S. interests, and it's particularly more important to Iraq because when the attacks and the infiltration by Islamic extremists such as ISIS and Al Qaeda go into the region and make make Iraq, the remote parts of Iraq, a launching point of their elite